I started coming to Kingsley back in the 30s. I was born in 1931, and my dad farmed probably about 6 or 7 miles west of Kingsley. And so my sister, she was 7 years older than I was, and we'd come to Kingsley, and I can remember one time some young boy thought my sister, who was blonde and blue-eyed, was quite attractive, and he came up and I hit him in the face. I can remember that I hit him in the face, and I said, "You leave my sister alone." And she always called me her chaperone. But I met Lou probably in the 40s. There used to be a traveling show that went around to different towns. It was called the Sweet Shows. And I didn't even realize it at the time until later, that there were 2 little blonde-haired girls right ahead of us in the theater, and it was fascinating because they looked so much alike that I was just fascinated watching them ahead of me. And after I did come to Kingsley, and after I graduated from high school down at Moville, and I played baseball up here for the Kingsley Cubs after I got out of high school. But I met Lou, I think it was probably when you were a sophomore, when we started dating. So. And I just, through knowing her family and everything like that, I kind of put it together. You wouldn't even think that you'd remember those type of things, but all at once it just kind of dawned on me. Oh, I remember seeing these 2 twin girls, and it was kind of fascinating from that standpoint to me, that my memory of probably when I was around 10 or 11 years old of seeing these 2 girls. But I played baseball up here, as I said before, with the Kingsley Cubs. And it was a team that was made up of 18, 19, and 20-year-old boys. And we had a fantastic team, naturally, because it gets greater the older you get, the better the team was. So.
Who were some of the people that were on the team?
Oh, Jack Hans, who is down here now, Bob Mathers, Bob Hinkhouse, Burl Southwick, Bob Phelps, who is a banker here, and so it was all young people that we were gung-ho and liked playing baseball. And so we were married in the Methodist Church here in Kingsley, and that was in 1952. And so right at the present time, it's been 56 years. Doesn't really seem like it. So we'll probably go for another 56.
You got any more Kingsley Cub stories? Any like special games you remember?
Well, they all were special, but to me it was interesting because at that time a St. Louis Cardinal scout, his name was Runt Marr, took an interest in me enough so that they sent me tickets to go to a spring training camp. But during that season at Sutherland, I tore my knee up because I was too aggressive. The game was nothing to nothing, and I'd gotten a single and the next batter had gotten a single, so I was on second base, and I knew the next batter up usually pulled the ball, and so I knew if he pulled the ball in the infield they'd go for a double play. So I thought, well, I'm going to score on the double play. I had the throw beat so far at home plate. They went to second, went to first, but I had the throw beat so far that I tried to stop my slide, and I ripped up my tendons and my ligaments and everything. And needless to say that when spring came and I was supposed to go to the training camp down in Georgia, the doctors recommended to my mother that they would ruin my leg So my mother made the decision for me that I was not going to the spring training camp. And so I sent the tickets back to the St. Louis Cardinals and didn't go to the spring training camp. And he came back to Mobile and he said, we would have x-rayed your leg before you practiced and let you practice. Then we would also x-ray it again. And he said, in this way, he says, we would not try to ruin your leg. But I lost my chance there. But if I would have became a baseball player, I wouldn't have had the family that I had, and I wouldn't give up my 5 daughters for baseball. No way. But that was one of the things that happened during the baseball season. But each of our games, I would say, was something that it was almost like a family, because all of us were so young that we really appreciated each other. And it was a good experience, really was.
What position did you play?
Shortstop.
Played in that position a few times.
That the old ballpark was built, I don't know when it was built, but it was probably built in the 50s.
Yeah.
Those old wooden,
Right after the war.
old wooden bleachers and all of that were built then. And
Because they had
yeah,
a regular semi-pro team here
Yeah.
in Kingsley. The players were paid to play, and Remsen and Alton, and there were quite a few teams around that hired players, and then they had a schedule. And but we were separate from that because we were all the young players, and we got to say and play in the same ballpark.
my dad was Pete Wormley, and he was the commander of the Legion at the time that they built that. They were working on building that ballpark, and so he announced a lot of the games.
Yeah.
You know, over the loudspeaker when they were playing.
We were married in the Methodist church. I taught Sunday school in the Methodist church, but it was funny because I played on the golf course out on the West Hill when it was sand greens.
Old golf course.
Yeah, the old golf course. And I'd get up early and do all my chores, and I would come up and play golf, come in and change my clothes and teach Sunday school, sing in the choir, go to church, go out to her parents for dinner, and we started having some children about that time. I'd put on my baseball uniform and go play a baseball game, and then drag myself back home.
Yeah, but I was at home. I had to stay home and get the kids all ready to come to Sunday school and church. And then
You
go to
could
the
see its
baseball.
little sore point.
Yeah, and it'd be hot, you know, down at the baseball game, and they'd be fussy and everything, and you know, I got so it wasn't worth it for me to go to the baseball game. Yeah. Anyway, we were young. We had a good time.
But Kingsley's a nice place to live.